Did CeeDee Lamb just send a warning to the rest of the NFL? A recent message from Lamb has fans buzzing, hinting that defenses could be in serious trouble now that George Pickens is in Dallas. Some see it as confident trash talk from a star receiver, while others believe it's a subtle signal that the Cowboys' offense is about to reach another level. What exactly did CeeDee mean, and why is the timing so important? If Lamb's hint is accurate, opposing defenses may need to rethink everything they thought they knew about stopping Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys offseason just took a turn that should have every defensive coordinator around the league paying close attention, because CeeDee Lamb just sent a message that was loud, calculated, and impossible to ignore. And the crazy part is, he didn't even need to say much. One post, one reaction, one subtle acknowledgement, and suddenly the entire NFL world is connecting the dots. If George Pickens really ends up in Dallas, defenses are not just in trouble, they're in survival mode. Let's be very clear about something right out of the gate. CeeDee Lamb is not a guy who talks just to talk. He's not someone who jumps into every rumor, every trade whisper, or every headline chasing attention. When CeeDee speaks, when he posts, when he reacts, it usually means there's something real happening behind the scenes. And that's exactly why fans went crazy when CeeDee Lamb reacted to the George Pickens to Dallas conversation in a way that felt more like a warning than hype. Because if you really understand football, if you really understand how defenses operate, you know exactly what this would mean. This isn't just about adding another receiver. This is about breaking defensive game plans before the ball is even snapped. Right now, CeeDee Lamb is already a nightmare. He lines up outside, he moves into the slot, he beats press coverage, he punishes zone, and he forces double teams on nearly every critical down. Defenses already roll coverage his way. Safeties shade toward him. Nickel corners cheat his route depth. Linebackers widen just to account for his presence. That's without George Pickens. Now imagine putting George Pickens on the other side. This is where the trouble really starts. George Pickens is a different kind of receiver. He's not just speed. He's not just size. He's violence at the catch point. He wins contested balls like the defense doesn't exist. He plays with an edge that corners hate dealing with. He doesn't need 5 yards of separation. He needs half a second and the ball in the air. And once you put that next to CeeDee Lamb, defenses lose the luxury of choice. Because you can't double both. That's the message CeeDee Lamb is hinting at. That's the message defenses are reading loud and clear. You want to double CeeDee? Fine. Pickens is one-on-one on the outside. You want to roll coverage to Pickens? Congratulations, CeeDee is eating linebackers and safeties alive in the middle of the field. You want to play zone? Good luck, because Dak Prescott suddenly has matchup advantages at every level of the defense. And that's before we even talk about the ripple effect. Because this isn't just about CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. This is about what it does to everyone else on the offense. Tight ends find soft spots. Running backs see lighter boxes. Play action becomes lethal. Third and long turns into a passing down defense's dread instead of welcome. Red zone coverage becomes a nightmare because now you have size, route running, and ball skills on both sides of the field. This is why CeeDee's message matters. Because he knows. He knows exactly what this would do to defenses. And if you think this is just fan speculation, think again. The Cowboys front office has quietly been monitoring wide receiver situations across the league. They understand that modern NFL success isn't about having one star target. It's about forcing defenses into impossible decisions. Look at the teams that consistently go deep in the playoffs. They all have multiple pass-catching threats that demand attention. Dallas has been one piece away from that kind of balance. George Pickens could be that piece. Now let's talk about why this pairing is especially dangerous in Dallas. Dak Prescott is at his best when he can read pre-snap leverage and trust his receivers to win. He's not the type of quarterback who needs a receiver to be wide open by 10 yards. He thrives when he can anticipate, throw into windows, and let his guys make plays. That's exactly what both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens excel at. CeeDee wins with precision, footwork, and route manipulation. Pickens wins with strength, body control, and aggression. Together, they cover every possible defensive look. Press man, off coverage, single high, two high, blitz packages, simulated pressure. It doesn't matter. One of them will have an advantage. And defenses know this. That's why you're already seeing analysts, former players, and defensive minds quietly saying the same thing. If Dallas pulls this off, the entire NFC has a problem. Because you're not just defending one superstar anymore. You're defending two guys who force you to abandon your preferred scheme. And that's what elite offenses do. They dictate terms. CeeDee Lamb understands that better than anyone. He's been the focal point. He's felt the double teams. He's seen the way defenses lean toward him on crucial downs. And instead of complaining about it, instead of asking for more targets or more attention, he's basically saying, imagine if you couldn't do that anymore. That's the message. Imagine if defenses had to play honest football against Dallas. Imagine if coordinators couldn't cheat coverage. Imagine if corners had to line up and survive. That's why his reaction hit the way it did. And here's the thing people aren't talking about enough. George Pickens in Dallas wouldn't just help CeeDee Lamb. It would elevate him to an entirely different level. We're talking about efficiency skyrocketing. Yards per target increasing. Red zone opportunities becoming cleaner. Explosive plays becoming routine instead of rare. CeeDee wouldn't need to force anything. He wouldn't need to beat two defenders at once. He could just play football. And when CeeDee Lamb is free to just play football, defenses suffer. Now let's flip this perspective for a second and look at it from a defensive coordinator's point of view. You're preparing for Dallas. You're building your game plan. You already know CeeDee Lamb is priority number one. Now you add George Pickens to that equation. Who gets your best corner? Who gets safety help? Do you trust your CB2 against Pickens in single coverage? Do you trust your nickel defender against CeeDee in the slot? Do you bracket one and leave the other isolated? Every option has consequences, and none of them are good. That's what elite offenses do. They force defenses to pick their poison. And CeeDee Lamb knows that poison is coming. This also sends a message beyond just defenses. It sends a message to the locker room. It tells the offense that the front office is serious. That they're not content with almost. That they're not satisfied with regular season success and early playoff exits. It tells Dak Prescott that he has weapons to truly push the ball. It tells the coaching staff that creativity is back on the menu. And that matters. Because confidence spreads. You could see it in CeeDee's tone. Not cocky. Not reckless. Confident. Calculated. Almost like he was saying, if this happens, good luck stopping us. And honestly, that might not even be an exaggeration. Now, let's address the big question everyone keeps asking. Is this realistic? Is George Pickens actually a target for Dallas? The answer is simple. The Cowboys are always opportunistic. When a player with elite upside becomes available, or even potentially available, Dallas does its homework. They weigh the cost. They evaluate the fit. They consider the locker room dynamics. And if the price makes sense, they move. George Pickens fits what Dallas lacks. Physicality on the outside. A receiver who scares defenses vertically and at the catch point. A guy who doesn't need perfect throws to make big plays. That complements CeeDee Lamb perfectly. And if this move happens, it's not just a highlight reel addition. It's a strategic weapon. CeeDee Lamb's message wasn't hype for hype's sake. It was a signal. A signal that the offense knows what's coming. A signal that the balance of power could shift. A signal that defenses might want to start rethinking how they prepare for Dallas. Because once you give a team like the Cowboys two elite receivers with different skill sets, the margin for error disappears. One missed assignment turns into a 40-yard gain. One bad angle turns into a touchdown. One blown coverage turns into a momentum swing. That's how games are decided in the NFL. And that's why this conversation matters so much more than people realize. This isn't just about adding talent. This is about changing how teams play you. This is about forcing defenses to respect every blade of grass. This is about turning pressure into opportunity instead of panic. CeeDee Lamb knows that. And now, defenses do too. Because if George Pickens really ends up in Dallas, the message is already out there. The warning has been sent. The hints are obvious. Defenses are in trouble. And the scariest part? This might just be the beginning.